Tell me a little bit about early women who gathered together to start Hospice in Pella.
We got together in the basement of the hospital. All of us had started to find out more about hospice by reading and going to other hospices.
Mm-hmm.
So that's really how we got started. And then at first, we didn't have identified positions yet. Patty Vincenti, Luella Peters, and Jane Dingaman. We finally got that going when we got Dr. Vizi and
Jean Vizi was very
Jean
crucial.
Vizi.
Hospice was a new concept even to those doctors at that time.
Yes.
Hospice was just brand new in the state.
And the very first person to use hospice was my father-in-law.
Yes.
One of the first volunteers, Mildred Banstra, said she would go take care of him. And Jane Dingaman went too.
And we had some small beginnings because even when I started, I only had 2 patients.
Yeah.
By the time I left in 2007, we had way over 30 every day. We did it by volunteer only, and those volunteers were used extensively. And luckily, this community really took hospice into its heart.
We had hospice rooms in the hospital too, didn't we?
Yes, 1 room initially, and we decorated that like a home. And then eventually we had 2 more prior to the building of the Comfort House. But then we kind of outgrew that, and they moved us to a storeroom that they had emptied. So we wallpapered it and added a few more staff because our patient load was getting bigger and bigger. Added a social worker.
Yes.
So we began to grow. And then came, in 1995, we kind of came to this point where we felt like we had been a volunteer hospice for 11 years. But there was one particular patient that really convinced me that Medicare certification was needed. The hospice Medicare benefit is one of the only benefits from Medicare that covers the needs of the patient 100%. Whatever that patient needs, whether it's medications, nursing visits, physical therapy, occupational therapy, speech therapy, social worker, chaplain, all of those interdisciplinary entities came about as a part of the Medicare certification. We decided to become a part of the hospital at that point because they had all these ancillary services in place. The idea of a comfort house began to blossom. There were 5 hospice houses in the whole state, but they were all in large metropolitan areas. So we were one of the very smallest communities to even consider this. I figured, what could one RN do? How many patients could they serve? And we had to make it very nurse friendly because I knew that there would be only 1 nurse on staff. I actually sat at my kitchen table and sketched this out on graph paper and gave that to the architect, which was Shide Hattery. We were told it would take $1.6 million. I came across 2 wonderful couples, Mark Akita Cook and Pete and Carol Verhey, were crucial and did the asking for those major donors. And then Chuck and Bernice Vanderploeg, they handled the huge mailing. We took the phone book and sent to almost every household. So that was like 9,000 letters talking about the Comfort House. And we created a giving tree that was going to be incorporated on the wall of the Comfort House. And it's still here. We were very successful in raising $1.6 million in 6 months. I always feel like the Comfort House is the people's house because there were donors from just a few dollars to thousands of dollars, but every one of those counted to make this happen. Construction started, and again, I relied very heavily on some volunteers. I had a volunteer team who were on site with the building, who had expertise. Those men really stayed on top of what was happening. And then I had 4 more lady volunteers who took care of all the decorating. Again, it was a house built by the community. As the house was being built, we wrote scriptures on the studs inside every room.
Oh, that's right. I remember
that went with the name of that room. So every single room here is surrounded in scripture.
And blessed.
And blessed, yes. Another really nice touch was we contacted the Quilters Guild in Pella and asked if they would handmade quilts for each of the 6 beds, and they agreed to do that. They keep supplying the Comfort House with quilts. When we had the open house, and Shirley and I were on the porch with our scissors, and also Gina Jansen was there with one of our hospice patients to help cut the ribbon, as well as Lori Bishop, and we moved the first patient in the next week. But when I came on as the administrator, you focused exclusively on bereavement and became really quite a well-known bereavement expert in the state.
Pat Yoakum was working for Crossroads. She took our class, and then she decided that we needed a bereavement program. We did it with Crossroads and Hospice.
And 2 women who really worked alongside you in the bereavement area were B.D. Young
and Jackie Vanderlinden.
And they were like your partner in finding bereavement volunteers and assigning them one-on-one with the surviving spouse. We started using a remembrance program called Lightful Life, and we would send out a flyer to all of our members, and if they wanted to remember a loved one who had died, they could put a light bulb on the Christmas tree. And then we had a huge lighting ceremony a few weeks before Christmas, and they would come out and we'd surround the tree and sing Silent Night
and dedicate it to those who had died.
Yes.
So
we had brick pathways in the garden. Family would then buy a brick in memory of someone and have that engraved, and then we would get that installed for them. If you walk in the garden now, you see lots of names. And I think there's great pride that a community of our size can have a facility like this. Make this available. It wasn't any one person, it was all our community together. Yes.
The Hietbrink community wanted to build this house, and they did it.
They did.